MarcelloMania is back. Guess what? Baseball's back. What a perfect time to do it. We got the Commanders, new quarterback, Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson going to Denver, Aaron Rodgers going back to Green Bay, Khalil Mack getting traded out to the West Coast, out to the Chargers. And oh yeah, it's Wrestlemania season. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Busy little stretch here. A lot to talk about today. Just so you know, it's Thursday. It's March 10th. There's news coming left and right. But bringing on my guy, Drew Main. Me and him go back a little ways. We got a lot of different topics me and him could touch on. But he's a big Washington football team fan. Now they're the Commanders. Drew, first off, before we get into the myriad of topics, just welcome on, man.
Thank you, man. Glad to be here. It's good to catch up with you.
So as I mentioned, Washington football team, now they're the Commanders. The big news that came out yesterday, Carson Wentz, and I had to text you. You know, we all know, especially being from the Richmond area, a lot of Washington fans, and there's people everywhere. But you're one of the diehard ones. What was your reaction when you got the news?
So my instant reaction was, I'm done with them. I'm out. And you got to look at the backstory on mine and Carson Wentz history here. North Dakota State, this goes all the way back to college. I hated his guts. For everybody that doesn't know, I went to JMU, and we ended up losing to them quite a bit in the playoffs. But then he got drafted by the Eagles. They traded up. I'm like, man, fuck this guy. Like, not that good. Then he spends his whole first rookie year about to win the MVP before he got hurt. So when he got hurt, being the diehard Washington fan that I am, I saw that his injury was the exact same injury that RG3 had with his knee.
Right.
It was the rare ACL LCL tear. And everyone saw how Robert came back from that, and I was just like, Wentz relies on his mobility so much, I thought he was done. And I'm very much on record on Twitter talking about how he is never going to be good again. And it all seemed to play out. And then, I told everyone, I don't care who our quarterback is this coming year. I just hope we swing and get one.
Right.
Even if it's Jimmy G, even if it's, David Carr, whatever.
Right.
And I wasn't expecting, us to get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Although the Russell Wilson talk heated up a lot in the last couple of weeks, so I started to convince myself we get him.
Right.
And then they shut that down, and not even 24 hours later, I was notified that the bane of my football existence for the last 10 years is coming to my team to be our quarterback. So instant reaction was, I'm out. I had told a bunch of friends, I said, I don't care who we get, but if we get Carson Wentz, that's it for me. That's the last straw. And sure as shit, we get Carson Wentz. So, but I've had 24 hours.
Yep.
I've had 24 hours. I still hate his guts. I don't really have a ton of faith in him, but I look at, he's an upgrade from Heineke. I love Heineke. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
He's just, I couldn't watch him go into another season as the starter. He's not the guy. He's a great backup. A good guy to have if you have a few games in a row that you're going to miss your starter. But he's an upgrade over Heineke. We don't have to pay him beyond this year if he sucks, which I fully expect him to suck. So that's good. But it's still, I don't like that we gave up. Honestly, the picks don't even bother me. The picks are the picks.
Right.
Taking on his full salary forced us to cut Landon Collins today, which I did not like at all. Like, I love Landon. A lot of Washington fans hate Landon Collins. I love Landon Collins. He really turned it on at the end of last year.
Yeah.
When they moved him to the hybrid role. But so that's where I'm at on Carson. I think he's going to be better than Heineke. It's cool that he's a pretty decent quarterback, and we haven't really had a real decent one since Alex Smith, I guess. And even then we only had him for a short period of time. So I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm not excited about it whatsoever, but at least they tried, they tried to get Russ.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, you got to feel good about that. Sort of homecoming, if he were to come back to DC, would have been cool, being the Richmond native. I know we saw him in our high school days. I didn't even think about the JMU North Dakota State thing. That just adds a whole other layer. Obviously, being Washington, you hated him because he's an Eagle, all that kind of stuff. That the
Yep.
JMU thing didn't even cross my mind. And
Mhm.
the reaction was pretty universal from all of my friends. Were not very pleased with it. Obviously I'm a
Yeah.
Patriots fan. We got Cam Newton. I wasn't like pumped, but it wasn't like, all right, we took on this big contract. It's this big deal. He's still in his prime.
Yeah.
You kind of knew it was like a 1 or 2 year thing, and then he's gone.
Prove it deal, and it was way discounted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of a little different, like my reaction to that. But I just started to think like, what are the Colts thinking? And then you start to think what they're going to do at quarterback. And I mean, if I was Washington, it's like I'd almost rather sign Mitchell Trubisky and just see what he's got, just give him a year versus because you kind of seen what Carson is unless he has an unforeseen bounce back.
Right. Yeah. He had his stats, if you just look at on paper last year, were really good. Um, and even when he got ran out of Philly, I mean, his play wasn't horrific. You know,
Right.
they signed him to that long-term deal for a reason with all that money. But to me, I subscribe to the Athletic, so I can read a lot of those articles, and I don't know if you have that, but those articles, they can go really really in depth and behind the scenes. They're really good. But as soon as that trade happened, I mean the writer must have had this thing queued up for the trade because
Right.
it was a story. It was like inside story on why they traded him. And to me, it doesn't seem like anywhere he's been that any of his teammates like him, and that the coaches don't like him and don't think he's a leader. Because that's essentially what they said it boiled down to in Indy. It was that they didn't trust him to be a franchise quarterback and lead the team. So, you
Yeah.
know, like why it happened in Philly, it happened in Indy. I mean, Indy took on that huge contract with the coach that mentored him,
Yep.
thought he's like I'll be able to fix him. I know how he is. Told everyone in the Indianapolis Colts and all their fans that he's going to fix this guy. He's really good. And after 1 year, he's done with them. So either Irsay overruled the coaches, or the coaches were like, yeah, he's a lost cause. Well, because they were prepared to cut him next week and
That,
eat $15 million of cap space.
that's tough. I mean, and that's if I was a Washington fan, that's just like even more scary because you just
That's
hit on all the big things. Not I didn't know they were about to cut him, but obviously the Frank Reich connection. It's like if he can't get it done with his guy that they had success together, like that's really got to be frightening.
right. And I mean, the team, he put up a lot of good numbers. He didn't throw for many yards at all. I think he averaged I think the Colts passing game was averaging like 210 yards a game last year. In today's NFL, that is not going to get it done unless, like he did, he had the best offensive line and the best running back in the league.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's
Now, he didn't
unbelievable.
have, yeah, he didn't have many weapons to throw to. I will give him that. I mean, his number one receiver is Michael Pittman. I think Mo Alley Cox had like some of the most touchdown catches on that team. Love Mo Alley Cox, respect, but that's not having those two as your top two targets. Maybe it'll be better. We do have a lot of weapons. I mean, the thing that pissed me off, and this kind of goes back to, I'm still obviously a little pissed we didn't get Russ,
Right.
is our roster compared to what the Broncos roster, our roster is way better and way more ready to make the playoff run than the Broncos. And it's like, I don't know, maybe outside of Washington and this region, people don't understand that, but like we have good players. Our
Yep.
offensive line was top 5 in the league last year. We have a really, really good young running back who was, I think, top 5 rusher in the league, even with some injuries last year. Terry McLaurin, I said, you can find the tweet, but I said during his rookie year, I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. And Curtis Samuel didn't play at all last year. He's fully rested, not injured anymore. And we got Logan Thomas coming back. I mean, we have weapons, so that's why I was a little pissed off. But I also think that we are a good quarterback away from being able to make some serious noise, definitely in our division and in the playoffs. I truly believe that. And if we had gotten Russ, I thought it was realistic to think we could make a deep playoff run. I just don't see it with Wentz, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's absolutely. I mean, you hit on a lot of good things there, but I mean, with Russ, the rumors swirling around, there was Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about some of that. I didn't quite understand why Denver was such a hot, like, hey, Rodgers going to go there. Now I get the coach connection, so maybe that, but I don't think they knew that all along. And all season they were connecting him to Denver. And I'm like, why? They got Judy and
Yeah.
a couple guys, but as you mentioned, I think y'all got a lot more all around talent.
Yeah. And I mean, there could be so many different things that factored into that because Rodgers apparently had a top destination of Denver too. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're potheads and they just want to go smoke weed. I mean, I definitely consider Rodgers being a pothead, but I don't know about Russ.
It
But
just makes you wonder.
I could definitely see, and I mean, this may or may not be politically correct to say, but I could totally see Russ's wife, Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend, being like, why would you ever play for Dan Snyder?
True.
Why would you ever play? Why would you ever play for that organization after all this crap that they're being sued for and all this other stuff? I mean, Dan Snyder's going to continually be a thorn in the side of us trying to be good forever until he's gone.
I feel bad for y'all. I mean, I've always said, like Washington fans are so loyal. Like they really are. I mean, you guys have
It's
suffered for so
insane.
many
It's
years.
insane.
Like
know.
I give y'all a lot of credit. So when the day comes and y'all finally, make a run, I will be happy for y'all. Cause I mean, you guys stick through the bad seasons.
I may drop dead right then and there if we ever make it to the Super Bowl again, and I'll be fine with it. It would be a full life.
So, but we'll keep talking just on the quarterback. We'll shift more to Rodgers coming back to the Packers. I want to ask you what your thoughts were on that. And then since you mentioned Wilson, just Wilson, the whole situation was a little weird there too, because Seattle seems like a place he won there. They were not a bottom feeding team, but now he's in Denver. Who you think got the better deal there? Was it the Broncos or the Packers?
I think the Packers probably. I mean, the Packers will be the better team by far. Um, I think they're paying a whole hell of a lot of money to an aging quarterback, but he hasn't really dropped off really at all. 2 MVPs in a row. So the thing about Rodgers just pissed me off this season, and I'm not even about like the whole COVID stuff. It's
Right.
just about how smug he is the whole time. And he's like, "Oh, the media creates all these narratives." It's like, dude, you put out all this cryptic shit on purpose to make them run wild with it. Like, you know what you're doing. Stop acting like you're surprised about it. So Rodgers, I was just kind of glad to see all that come to an end. Although he's still stringing it along, he still has not agreed to a contract yet. But,
Yeah.
So Rodgers, yeah, whatever. I love Rodgers as a player, but
Right.
he just annoyed me. He annoyed me this season. He was one of my favorite players before this season, and it's still fun to watch. But as far as Russ and the Broncos go, the Seahawks, I feel like got screwed on that deal big time.
Yeah.
Noah Fant's probably the best part of that deal, other than the 2 first-round draft picks. I mean,
Right.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock's like Heineke, kind of like good backup, maybe.
Yeah, and that's what also doesn't make sense to me why they didn't trade him to us, because all the reports say our deal was way better than the Broncos deal, and it's like, well, they didn't want to send him to the NFC, and I'm like, okay, well, they're clearly blowing this whole thing up in Seattle to do a rebuild.
Right.
I don't think that they're going to be facing us in like an NFC championship anytime soon. So that, I don't know about all that. I think more that they don't want to say that Russ said he won't go to Washington, which
could be.
We talked about that before.
Yeah.
But that explanation doesn't fly with me, that they didn't want to send him, unless the Seahawks front office is just not very competent, because that's not to get the package we were going to give him was, I think, first rounders the next 3 years, a couple more like second or third round picks.
Yeah.
And we said, would you like any players for them in? And they just never heard back from them. So
yeah, I mean, unless you're trading like in the division, I think you got to take the best deal.
That's what me and all my buddies that are big fans were saying too. But if they took the Broncos deal over ours, then maybe they're just dumb. I don't know. But the Seahawks are not going to be good for quite some time, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner's gone. Not that he's, elite anymore, but he's still good. They're just getting rid of a lot of changes. And I mean, we've all seen
They're
it. You
blowing up.
need a
Mhm.
quarterback. I just,
Yeah,
I think the Packers in the short term, I mean, they're a real threat to win the next couple of years. I mean, Rodgers is, I do like Rodgers, but he's choked so many times in his career, so it's hard to trust him.
yeah,
But you got to figure if he's got a couple more years and he gets to another NFC championship or two, like eventually you're going to break
yeah,
through. So in the short term, I
yeah,
think for the Packers, it makes sense. Between the two, I would have wanted Wilson just because he's younger, just the long term franchise. So if you were
right.
asking me one or the other, I would have said, Russell. But Rodgers, I do
Yeah,
think has a more immediate, chance to win. And but
yeah,
yeah, I mentioned earlier, like Trubisky, he seems to be a hot name out on the market just because he did a lot with what is now looking like a pretty rough Chicago Bears. Jimmy G, where he's going to go, he's
mhm.
also got shoulder surgery. Since we're talking about the Chicago Bears, another blockbuster trade just happened in the last 45 minutes. Khalil Mack looks like he's going to the Chargers. And I don't know if you saw the compensation, but it's a second and a sixth round pick. So basically a second round pick.
Yeah. I'm assuming maybe he's on the last year of his deal this year.
He
I would
he
assume that's why they're trading him for
He
essentially
he might have
nothing.
been, and I know he didn't play a ton of games. Like he missed a lot of time, but I mean, if you, I don't really count a sixth round pick as anything. So you're essentially giving up a second rounder for a guy
Yeah,
he's got a few more years in him for sure.
yeah, and teaming him up with Bosa on that line, that defense is gonna be good, very good. That whole division is gonna be a freaking murderer's row.
Dude,
The poor Raiders.
I saw the headline and it said, Khalil Mack like nearing deal with LA. Instantly, I thought, oh my God, Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack on the same line. But then, like, yeah, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on the same line is not that far off from. I mean, so
No.
that's just kind of a random aside that I wanted to throw in because everything's happening. And I told you we were gonna maybe throw a little baseball on, because I had to ask you, yes, this was yesterday. Hey, I'll ask you about the Braves, whatever. But in the last hour or two, baseball is back. It's gonna have a
We're
season. I
back.
mean, you gotta feel great, right?
Oh man, I am so happy. I'm so happy it's back. I was so mad that they started delaying games because as the defending world champs, I want to see our little ceremonies, our ring ceremonies, our banner, whatever you want to call it. I want to
Yeah.
see that. I want to see us defend it. Only problem is that Freddie Freeman is not signed yet. As a Braves fan, I am absolutely terrified that we're going to lose him. So we will see what happens there. But I'll be praying nightly that we sign him in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very happy baseball came back. That was pretty cool. Like an hour before I came on here, the news broke. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I was like trying to because it just happened. I was trying to figure out like what the terms were. I know it's going from 10 to 12 teams in the postseason. Universal
Yeah.
DH is a huge one, which I mean, I kind of at times like the old school watching the NL, the maneuvering. You had to really understand the game and be a manager. But as a Red Sox fan, the AL, like it gave us it gave AL teams an advantage because we can sign aging hitters and NL teams.
100%.
So like it levels the playing field there. So I think I understand that. I don't. I'm not 100% sure about what the full playoff structure is, but at least it's only 12 teams and it's not like 16. I don't want to see it grow. I love the NBA. I love hockey. I don't want it to be
Yeah,
where
yeah.
half the teams make the league, more than
Half
half
the
the teams.
league.
So I mean, it's just awesome. It said they are saying they could potentially play all 162, but you got to figure even if they don't, they're probably only missing a handful of games at this point. So I was thinking
Yeah,
this
I
could
think
take
2 weeks.
months. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think April 7th.
Yeah, I was worried this would go into the warm weather months, and I was just like, man, this sucks.
Yeah,
I
yes.
because I mean it's true. I I follow Darren Ravel on Twitter, and he's a goober, but he's been saying it all along, and I believe him. If they had a full season lockout this year, I mean it would be tough for MLB to recover from that. I think all the players and owners kind of realized that towards the end. They're like, we can't let this go on any further. So
And they almost have an
we'll see.
opportunity, like because I think I not in a, I guess it's in a bad way, but the bar in my head was set very low. It was like I expected so little from the owner, so little from the player. I was like, this is not going to get done. And then now people are so excited to have it back. I hope people really enjoy the season this year. I hope they can capitalize. But it's exciting stuff. I mean, Yeah, if you're a team like the Braves and you finally win one in a while and you don't get a chance to like have a normal season, like you got to feel a little robbed. But
Right.
I mean, I'm just happy for it. I mean, I think if they miss a week of games, no big deal. But if they had missed, 30, 40 games, and you're like, what are we even
Yeah,
doing here?
exactly. We're having another COVID shortened season. Um, so yeah, I'm happy. I think going back to the universal DH, I agree with you. Before the COVID season, I was so against universal DH. I'm like, no, National League, the pitchers hit, it's strategy. Like I like it so much better. I don't want to see a universal DH. COVID season, universal DH, and I got to see finally we didn't have to put Marcelo Ozuna in the outfield. And I was like, well, this is kind of nice. This is kind of nice. We don't have any, the Braves lineup the last few years, especially the last two and definitely last year. I mean, there was no gaps in that
Yeah.
lineup as far as offense. I mean, Dansby Swanson was our worst hitter. And I mean, he's probably one of the better hitting shortstops in the league, other than, the superstars. But, as far as shortstops go, they're not usually good hitters. And dude hit 2 or 3 home runs in the World Series. Like he's good. So as a Braves fan, and I won't get into how I feel about Ozuna coming back, but he's going to be back, and maybe we have Jorge Soler too, and we have room to keep them as opposed to letting them walk somewhere and go sign with an AL team and just hit dingers all the time. So I'm reformed on the universal DH. Another thing they changed back, which I don't really understand, but they changed back the double header length from 7 to 9 innings again. Don't know why that happened. I guess maybe more time for concessions to be bought for the owners. I don't
Yeah,
get
I
that.
also noticed they yeah, like you said, the double innings or double headers 9 innings, and I think they reverted to the normal extra innings, which
Mhm.
is good. I mean, it is
Yeah,
weird, like just
yeah.
starting someone on second like
We
that.
need to get that. We need to get that thing out of there.
That was a
That
terrible
was
one.
weird. That was like that was like a little league kind of rule that I don't know. I didn't like it very much.
Yeah, I'm like you. I didn't mind the doubleheader 7 inning games. That didn't bother me. But the when you go to extras and you got a guy on second, it's like what is this?
Yeah, I mean the advantage flips from the home team to the away team right away.
Yeah, I mean, so it's great they're back. I mean, I'm really excited to kind of see some more details on what the playoff series are going to look like with those extra couple of teams. I've heard maybe
Mm-hmm.
someone can almost pick their opponent. Either that's kind of if that's the way it goes, that'll be cool. But no, I just want to say, I appreciate y'all getting Boston another title. The Boston Braves did really, really good last year, so
We
had to
share. We're co-champions.
had to slide that one in there. Now, obviously,
Yeah, man. Well, let me just say one thing about that run. That was the
yeah,
greatest sports journey of my entire life. Going all the way back to the All-Star break, when I think we went 17 games in a row right after the All-Star break of win loss, win loss, win loss. So we didn't gain any ground. Luckily, the Mets were busy crapping themselves the whole time. But then we went on an absolute tear. The Brewers series was awesome because that all came down to pitching. Dodgers series was awesome. That came down to nothing but offense. And then you had the Astros World Series that came down to pitching and offense, which is really cool to see. And we being able to close it out in front of all those Houston fans was I wanted to see them winning in Atlanta, but my God, that was so awesome. I don't know if I've seen the clip of Jorge Soler's home run in that game probably 1,000 times. Whenever I'm feeling bad, I just throw that thing on because it makes me feel so good. But there's an angle from the side of that video, the whole crowd waving their orange towels, and as soon as he swings, you can see every towel in the stadium just drop.
amazing. That's
So
amazing.
I want to shout out the Braves. I actually went down. I sprung for a ticket, flew down for about 24 hours to go to
Awesome.
Game 3. First game back in Atlanta in like 26 years for the World Series. So it was the greatest night of my life. Horrible baseball conditions. There was maybe like 4 hits the whole game. It was a 2-0 game, and it was 45 degrees and raining, but it was the best night of my life.
That's awesome. No, I mean it's so cool. I mean that's what makes baseball, especially make those postseason runs so awesome. And I think just about everyone outside of Houston in America was rooting for the Braves against the Astros. So
No doubt. No doubt.
made a lot of people from a lot of fan bases very happy with that one. But what I
Yes,
was
they did. Yes.
what I was gonna say is anyone that knows us knows, we're kind of some wrestling geeks over here. And I know neither one of us watched the AEW Revolution too much, but we'll touch on AEW just a little because
Mhm.
we know a lot more when it comes to WWE and the WrestleMania build. Just
Yeah.
some general thoughts because I know me and you text back, all the talent they're acquiring. Jeff Hardy came out the other night.
Yeah.
AEW, I'll say this. They do a really good job of storytelling, but there's the way they shift around, like when Dynamite is, what channel it's on. For me, it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on. I tried to watch Dynamite a little bit last night. I tuned in like later on in the show, but they do their storytelling is really good. Their booking is amazing. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I worry that they're going the WCW route by taking all the older guys from WWE and not necessarily all the older guys, but a lot of the guys that they're signing from WWE, I mean, they're 40 plus. Jeff Hardy. I love Jeff Hardy.
Right.
He's old.
Yeah.
He's also not that great on the mic, so he's pretty, he's got a ceiling. So that's a good signing for them, I guess, because he can fit into storylines with Matt Hardy. Um, the William Regal one, I was watching Revolution when the end of the Moxley and Brian Danielson match, and it all they were brawling after the match or whatever, so all the security came down, and then William Regal comes out of nowhere. I've been watching wrestling since I was a little kid, and I remember being scared of Lord Steve Eagle is what he was called back then, and he was just the meanest looking British dude, and just walked down like all the time, just never looked happy. And I loved him in WWE. He was a perfect general manager. So that was cool to see, and I think that was a good signing. I think they need to figure out more. What they do better than WWE is that their mid card is like must watch, and that's to me like back in the Attitude Era, the mid card was much must watch on both shows. I
Right.
mean, you had the cruiserweights in WCW. You had like all the factions in WWE that the not necessarily like. So, for instance, Nation of Domination.
Right.
You had The Rock. You had Farouk. Those were the two main guys. But you also had D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry. Those dudes were in the mid card, and everybody wanted to see all that. So that's to me the biggest thing that AEW does better than WWE. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of all over the place sometimes. The storylines, most of them don't really, there's not a ton of backstory to it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's a young company, so I get it. I think they just I don't know if you saw that they Tony Khan just bought Ring of Honor.
I did see
Um,
that. Yeah.
so I think they're going to be able to do some cool things with that. They
Yeah.
already did. I don't know if you saw at the pay per view, like Punk came out to his Ring of Honor music in his Ring of Honor gear, so it's kind of like a throwback, and so I think they'll be able to do some good things with that. But yeah, as far as WWE though, their main event scene is way better than
Oh yeah.
AEW's main event scene. I mean, can you even tell me who the AEW World Champion is?
Oh, I want to say MJF. But I don't know. I don't
It's
know. Is it
it's
Omega?
Hangman Page. It's Hangman Page.
Okay.
Hangman Page. It was Omega for like a year and a half,
Yeah,
and
he
then he
had it
got
for a
hurt,
while.
so he dropped the title. But yeah, Hangman Page. He's from Virginia. Didn't even know that until a couple weeks ago. But yeah, he's the champion. He's great. His matches are great. But he doesn't have that star power at least yet. He's definitely a huge star over in Japan. But yeah, the main event scene. I mean, I'll tell you right now, heel Roman Reigns is one of my favorite WWE characters of all time. I
He's
am
great.
like I'm diehard bloodline. We the ones. I'm diehard. I love Roman Reigns. I hope he never loses the title.
Dude, he's great. And I was saying this, and might have been the one podcast ago I did. We talked to it was coming off the heels of the Rumble, so we talked a lot about it. And I think eventually it's gonna get to the point. I don't think he's gonna be The Rock, but I think it's gonna get to the point where like The Rock, Triple H, Randy Orton, where it's like this dude is so good of a heel, the crowd's just gonna, it might be a couple years, but the crowd's just gonna start to turn. They're gonna be like, this guy's too good. We can't even boo when they try to make him bad. Like, But because I'm like you, man, I am such a big fan. He's such a great heel. I mean, I love Lesnar when he's in the mix. So like, yeah, I'll never be mad if him and Lesnar go out and Lesnar wins. But just knowing that Reigns is that guy and he's gonna be around he carries the company right now for sure.
He does big time, and I'm telling you, I watch. So I don't watch a ton of it live anymore. I record them most times, and if I don't watch them, I'll go on like a Bleacher Report to like look at the recaps or whatever. But SmackDown is head and shoulders a better show than Raw is. I mean, and mainly because of Roman Reigns. I mean, hands down, plain and simple. That dude, ever since they let him be heel and stopped trying to make people like him,
Right.
and it took him so long. I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, just turn him heel. They boo him already. They hate his guts. Make him a heel. Let him bask in the hatred. And it's worked out like a fucking charm for them. And dude, I am amped to see him and Lesnar in the main event at WrestleMania. That is literally, Meltzer said it's going to be probably the biggest drawing pay-per-view match of all time.
And they've built that storyline because I feel like for 6 months we knew it was coming, but they've done enough to like sidetrack you, but still like so they have done a really, really good job with that where you're not like tired of it at this point. Like the Saudi shows, like it's always at like noon on a Thursday, so I'm never watching those. Like I'm never gonna see those, but they have done enough to keep it interesting. I cannot wait to see that. The twist with Paul Heyman a couple times going from Reigns to Lesnar to Reigns, like
and no, so now he's done it so many times you don't know what he's going to do at WrestleMania.
no, it's awesome. And another thing on Reigns where he's come a long way, and I'm sure this is like working with Paul Heyman, but he used to be so terrible on the mic. I know our boy John Cena gave it to him a couple times, but he's come a long way, and he doesn't, he's not cutting electric promos, but he's good on the mic now.
He's perfect for his character on the mic. I mean, I pop every time he says, "Acknowledge me." I freaking pop every time. I stand up with my finger up. I'm like, "You, the head of the table, the tribal chief. You're my whatever you need. I got you."
I love his entrance too. He takes his time. It's like 4 minutes to get to the ring. Like those like
good.
That's what the greats do, man. They take forever.
It's so good. He doesn't even need to do anything. He just stands there and just boo. And like you said, they are starting to cheer him.
Yeah.
Now, they won't cheer him against Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar is a face, easiest wrestler to root for ever. But that match is gonna be a fucking that's gonna be a good one.
And Lesnar, it's funny to see like this, like kind of where he's like cutting jokes. Like it's funny to see like that side of him. He's still gonna throw down, be serious when he has to. But I don't know. It's been funny to see like him be a completely different character. Like didn't know Brock had it in him. And I don't know if you listen to this will tie in pretty well. I learned a lot. Like I thought he always hated people, but then he went on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know if you listened to that one, and it's like he's like, no, he's like, I just put so much energy in. I need to like recharge. I was like, this is not the Brock Lesnar I thought was under there.
Nah, he's a jokester, man. He's telling jokes, and I've seen quotes from a lot of different wrestlers talking about backstage. He's not like everybody's best friend. Right. But he goes up to young guys after like one of their first big matches, like, "Good job, man. You did well," whatever. He's like a pretty chill dude. I won't go as far as say he's like a nice, happy-go-lucky guy because I'm pretty sure he probably hates a lot of people, but definitely not the character that you see on TV. I watched that interview. Did you see the one with Vince McMahon?
Yes, yeah. I mean, he said a couple weeks in a row, maybe it was a week in between, but it's a massive guest on there.
Yeah, he did, and I love Pat McAfee show. I don't necessarily watch it. Like I don't have it pulled up, but I'm scrolling Twitter all day, and they put up the clips so quickly. I just watch all the clips. That dude is amazing, and he has made SmackDown a great show too.
Yeah, and then he's got a WrestleMania match.
Oh, he has.
And
I mean, I can't tell you a better color guy than him right now.
He brings so much energy. I mean, he's a fan, and like he obviously talks for a living, so he's good on the mic. He's very good. He's funny. He's great, and I think that when Vince offered him a deal, I was like, all right, who's he gonna wrestle? He did amazing with NXT when he had that match. I mean, he did awesome, but I was like, where is he gonna go now? Austin Theory, I was like in my head, I was like, why is this dude in like the Elimination Chamber? Why is this guy getting a push? So
Yeah.
it is a perfect kind of like match because I mean, no, Austin Theory is talented, but for me, I just didn't understand the push. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, his character's not there yet for me to like care about. But
yeah,
this could be a good one. The WrestleMania, and then obviously the Raw after WrestleMania is always huge. So I'm sure something big will happen. I'm sure Vince will be involved in the match some way or another.
yeah, that'd
So
be that'd be pretty awesome. Now we'll talk a couple more
yeah.
matches. We'll end with the big one that I think people want us to hit on. But before that, Edge and AJ Styles. I know they're making Edge kind of a heel. I think most wrestling
Big
fans.
time,
I think most wrestling fans know though it's like these two are just going to put on an amazing match. So I think that's a great matchup.
Oh hell yeah, me too. And Edge, ever since he came back, man, his storytelling is awesome. I mean, his feuds have been really, really good. I mean, really, like when you watch, the video previews, right? WWE does those so well.
Yeah,
You don't even have to watch for months, and you just watch that pre-match package, and it'll get you right up to speed. But I mean, his storytelling is incredible. That whole feud with Randy Orton was amazing. That stretched out for like 8 months.
yeah,
And this whole thing with AJ Styles has been perfect. I mean, everybody was loving Edge, and they did it so perfectly. And then having him come out on Raw to no music with the lights dim to like AJ Styles blue light, and then just to go on and on about why he did it. It was chef's kiss to me. And yes, his match with AJ Styles is going to be a potential show stealer for sure.
yeah. I mean that one, it's going to be just an awesome match. It'll be a mid card one, but I know I was saying this to another friend. The Rumble, I know we're not going to spend too much time on that. Me and you were both disappointed, but the Rumble, you have one or two matches that you know is going to be good, and you hope some good return. You hope the Rumble's
Right.
good. At least with Mania,
Mhm.
like we got this match, we got this match, so it's going to at least be decent because of the lineup that you got. And the last one, I don't know if you had any inkling on this. Unfortunately, I think I kind of heard what was going to happen, but it is awesome that it is finally happened. Kevin Owens calling out none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, man. Kevin Owens, another one of my favorite guys in wrestling right now. And obviously Stone Cold's any wrestling fans, one of his top 5 favorites, if not number one.
Right.
Um, I think they've done that really well. I mean, obviously they're not going to have a full blown match. I don't think. Maybe they will. I don't know. Stone Cold is talking like it'll be a fight of some sort. Um, but I'm sure they got some kind of medical clearance tests they're going to have to in order for that to happen. But yeah, I think it's awesome, and they went. The video response from Stone Cold was like a heavily produced video. So I mean, it's not going to be just some quick like comedy segment where he stuns him one time and drinks a couple beers. I
Right.
think it's going to be like some kind of thing. Either he's going to fight him, on the KO show, or he's going to, maybe introduce somebody, is maybe Cody Rhodes if they end up getting him signed before WrestleMania.
Man.
I don't know. I think they can do a lot with it. I think they left it very open ended to where you don't really know what to expect. Because normally you hear Austin and, it'll be like Austin, The Rock, and Mankind. Like they did that one WrestleMania where they came
Yeah.
in, did finishers on some poor sap and then drank beer
Yeah.
together. I don't think it's going to be that. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's going to be something that will mean something in the long run. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
And
Like you
just
said,
hearing Stone Cold cut a promo is awesome.
and like you said, to give it kind of a push, it's different than just hey, come out for a segment.
Right.
Kevin Owens with the stunner, he kind of took that over. That's a cool
Yep.
storyline. He's been kind of trashing Texas randomly, so you could.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. I had heard this possibility, and I'm one of those like we know what wrestling is, but
Yeah.
like I don't seek out
Right.
storylines because I want to
Right.
like still that little kid in me like when Edge came out at the Rumble a few years ago, when Cena came out at Mania, when you don't know, like, and the
Right.
unexpected happens. So, like, it was cool that Kevin Owens called it. Like, I'm happy Stone Cold, but the little kid in me wanted me to like catch that live
To
and be
be
like,
surprised. Yeah.
whoa, yeah. But
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's just like any other TV show, like I'm a big Blinders fan, and that's being aired in the UK as we speak.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm sure I could go and find spoilers to every episode, but I'm not going to seek it out. But I
Great
want to
show.
watch it and be surprised. It's no different.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic show, and yeah, who knows? I mean, Cody Rhodes, he's out there, and he doesn't necessarily have to sign with WWE, but he can appear for a couple matches. Uh,
Yeah.
Triple H has been awfully quiet. I mean, he's usually somehow involved in WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't know when The Rock. I mean, you got to think 1 year they'll tie in him and Reigns somehow, but you never know. I guess that's why WrestleMania you got the good card, and you hope something else crazy happens.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy how much is grown because they're doing 2 nights now. I mean,
Yeah,
every year,
and
the
they're moving
card for 2 nights.
a lot of their pay-per-views to Saturday, which when it's not like football season, I love it. Yeah, we know, but hopefully they're not putting up against like, primetime college football. When on certain weekends, I love it. And I think they've just grown so much. And I mean, the WrestleMania 2 nights definitely a little bit of adjustment because usually we used to always sit around a big night, watch for
Yep.
4 or 5 hours, but they're just such a big company now. It's hard to argue.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very excited. I think this is going to be a very good WrestleMania stacked card. Even the women's stuff is going to be good. What I don't really understand, and this is just a quick comment. We don't need to go into it, but I don't understand why they don't let my girl Sasha do a solo match. They're putting her in a tag team with Naomi. That'll be a fun. They'll probably win the tag titles, or maybe they'll lose and Sasha will turn on her. I don't know, but I want to. I'm such a Sasha Banks stan. Ever since I watched that Brooklyn takeover match between her and Bailey, it was one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen, man or woman. So that's just a little comment.
I mean, you mentioned it. We don't. I mean, Sasha's great. Rousey's in the mix. They got Bianca Belair and Big Time Bex.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlotte's amazing. The women's division is
And
phenomenal in itself. Who did I leave off?
yeah, for a while, it was my favorite part of the show. Was the women's division. I mean, their storylines were better. Their matches were better. One thing we do need to watch out for in that women's division is we haven't heard from Bailey in a long time ever since she got hurt and had surgery. There was talk about her possibly coming back for the Rumble. Maybe they're holding her out. Maybe she comes out and screws Sasha out of the tag team champs and they start that old feud over again. Who knows?
That'll be good. Drew, man, this has been awesome. We could go on.
Had a great time.
For sure. We could go on for a lot, but we also hit the perfect day where all this news broke in the last couple hours. So that was pretty perfect, man. We'll do it again, but I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm down to come on whenever, especially big breaking news days. I can riff a lot. I follow a lot of sports. So last thing I'll say, go Hoos.